Hello and welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here's a message from our studio sponsor. Let's be real. Running a shed business today isn't just about building great sheds. The industry is changing fast. We're all feeling the squeeze, competing for fewer buyers while expectations keep climbing. And yet, I hear from many of you that you are still juggling spreadsheets, clunky software, or disconnected systems. You're spending more time managing chaos than actually growing your business. That's why I want to talk to you about our studio sponsor, ShedPro. If you're not already using them, I really think you should check them out. ShedPro combines your 3D configurator, point of sale, RTO contracts, inventory, deliveries, and dealer tools all in one platform. They even integrate cleanly into our Shed Geek marketing solutions. From website lead to final delivery, you can quote, contract, collect payment, and schedule delivery in one clean workflow. No more double entries, no more back and forth chaos. Quoting is faster, orders are cleaner. And instead of chasing down paperwork, you're actually running your business. And if you mention Shed Geek, you'll get 25% off all setup fees. Check it out at shedpro.co/ShedGeek. Thank you, ShedPro, for being our studio sponsor, and honestly, for building something that helps the industry.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, here from sunny and warm Metropolis, Illinois. A great day here to be in Southern Illinois. Today, I am joined by Jared Ledford of Dayton Barnes, Four Rivers Post. I'm starting to lose track of what all those things are. I'll introduce him here in just a minute. But before we get rolling, just a couple quick things so you know how to stay plugged in with us. Of course, always the Shed Geek call-in line. That is Shannon's personal cell phone. Please feel free to give him a call or a text. That is 618-309-3648. Our email address, info@shedgeek.com. Of course, you can always go to shedgeek.com and fill out a contact form there if you'd like to reach out. The Facebook page, the Shed Sales Professionals group page, all of the private groups. We do such a good job in this industry of staying connected and helping each other in those ways. Please go and participate and comment and post your own thoughts there. I think it is very productive. The call-in line for any of our friends in the plane community. If you have friends or acquaintances who are in the plane community and are limited on the technologies that they can use, we do have the call-in line 330-997-3055. And not only can they listen to the most updated podcast, the most recently updated podcast, but they can also go back into the catalog. So it is a very good resource there. So having said all of those things, Jared Ledford, again, maybe give us a little, I saw maybe it was your LinkedIn profile where I think you have 4 or 5 different logos now, on your header. So, maybe introduce yourself. Obviously we know you, former Steel Kings podcast, and obviously still a friend of Shed Geek. And so I'm happy to have you on. Tell us about all them logos, Jared.
So we have been working over the last year, 18 months to really square up all the businesses that we are part of, right? So myself, I own and operate Dayton Barnes and All Steel Buildings. You guys have heard a lot about that. You guys watched and listened on the journey of Five Rivers Pole Barns. We built that business kind of while we were doing the Steel Kings podcast, and lots of good stories there. Go back and listen to it. It's great content. We are starting, been doing it now for better part of 9 or 10 months. We're working, Defined SEO is really doing well. Really looking for the right partners in the portable building, steel building, pole barn space. Just kind of want to
websites,
help
SEO.
Yeah, custom coded websites, SEO, but like SEO at like a massive scale. So right now, Dayton Barnes has something like almost 6 million pages indexable on Google. It's been a really interesting journey learning more about that, and now being able to leverage the power of something that the industry knows like Shed Hub, right? Shed Hub was kind of a starting point for an SEO development project with Jeff, my partner. You guys have heard Jeff on the podcast. He's a friend of Shed Geek as well. But he and I are really getting into the space, specifically post frame. We feel like that's really a target market for some new styles of advertising and marketing online. So we're doing that. That's where I spend most of my time these days is Defined. I do most of my activities during the day for Defined. Dayton Barnes is always going to be a priority for me. We do a lot there too. Five Rivers is just something I kind of touch base with every once in a while. Love those guys and trying to lend my expertise and experience in the industry over the years to help them grow that business and do some things there. But really, I think what we're going to talk about today is we're launching America Builds Better. So America Builds Better is my new personal platform. I'm just going to start sharing content, and we really don't know what it looks like yet. You know, there might be some podcasting in there. There might be some short form reel content, video content. I just want to do, I wanted to have a brand that encompassed me as a person and really what drives me in this industry. And I think that America Builds Better is going to do that.
Yeah.
We'll be available on, you know, all the podcasts and different things, but I can't guarantee how regular the content's going to launch. For somebody that's listening to this right now, chances are you'll be able to check out America Builds Better on Apple Podcast. I know you can. Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
The archive and
We'll have
everything
it.
is up.
Yeah. We're gonna have certain vault content from the Steel Kings, but we want you guys to be able to check that stuff out on Shed Geek. You
Yeah.
know, we want you to be able to go back and hear, you know, Eric and I's episodes on the Shed Geek, you know, the call-in service or on YouTube. All the content's going to be there. It's still really good content. It's still relevant. And I wanted to make sure that that was still there for the Shed Geek audience,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So,
Well,
yeah,
but as you're saying, I think the thing that I really wanted to have you on for, and I know that you and I have been having many conversations over
we
really
have.
several months,
That's
going
right.
back probably to even before the Shed Expo last year. We had already kind of started to talk about what content looks like and what a new kind of what new how is new media going to play into sheds and portable buildings? Of course, your side is more, metal carports, garages, and then post frame. But either
Yep.
way, you have a very similar funnel, that works in both of those worlds, all of those worlds. And so you and I had kind of started this conversation about, what should content look like? What is effective? um, what do people want to take in for entertainment? What kind of
That's right.
relationships are now able to be built? As we well know, Shannon has done an incredible job of building relationships with people through a microphone and through their earbuds. And
Yep.
then obviously we're on YouTube and post clips and everything, but then, kind of really taking that next step, you with America's Builds Better, we are doing the Shed Life media channels, which is very similar to what you're thinking. I think we're much more in a straight to consumer type of a funnel focus. But either
Yeah.
way, that same idea, how do we start to really transition part of the content into being more visual, more bite-sized, tell a story over, over 15 bite-sized videos versus telling a story like we are right here. So I guess maybe first and foremost, if you don't mind to just kind of give me your, up to the minute. I know we talked quite a bit, but like give me your up to
Sure.
the minute thought process when it comes to what matters when you're thinking through that content yourself and then even for the listeners.
I think the way people consume content is totally different than it was even a year ago. Certainly different than it was 5 years ago, right? You know, when Shannon started the podcast, podcasting was the hottest thing going. Everybody was starting a podcast, and what I love about Shannon is he's been able to not only see his kind of dream and vision become a reality, right? You know, 5 years of doing this, almost 5 years, 400 plus episodes, hasn't missed a week, just tons of content, rich content. And one of the things that we've talked about is going back and revisiting some of that content in short forms. where you can now take that content that's still relevant, that's still very good, and feed it out to people through 15, 30, 45-second reel copy that's like now driving a totally new audience to listen to Shed Geek or listen to the
Right.
Steel Kings or listen to America Builds Better. I think where you and I are in one accord for sure is that we absolutely see the future going that direction. More short form content, more consumable content, because the more someone sees your 15 and 30-second ad reels or whatever, they're more likely to come and check out a 35, 45 hour long term discussion on something specific to the industry,
Yeah.
right? I think where I'm headed specifically is the peek behind the curtain, right? I want everybody to know everything because I feel like everybody does better when there's information out there. We're in the information age. The content that I make is really something that I want to see, not only as a consumer, but someone in the industry. You might see me one day at a metal building. You might see me the next day at a trade show. The next day, you might see me in a 45-minute podcast. But the one thing that I want to do, and you guys are doing it too, is I want to be able to take a podcast that's 45 minutes long and create 35 or 40 pieces of content from it
Yep.
that people can consume and rewatch and use that as a way to create an audience for the industry. Because I feel like if the best players step up, people like me, people like, there's so many good partners, right? There's so many good people out there that are selling sheds, selling metal buildings, selling post frame and pole barn buildings. These are the people that we want to highlight on America Builds Better specifically. We want to tell good stories. We want to be able to be a part of it. And what you and I have discussed is basically like, why can't we share the content? There doesn't need to be, we don't want anybody to think that there's any beef between Shed Geek and America Builds Better.
Yeah. Oh,
When we
not at
launch
all.
our first episode, yeah, when we launch our first episode, which is probably going to come out in a couple of weeks at this point, I'm not really sure to be honest. I'm sitting on it, but the first thing out of my mouth is a big thank you to Shannon, and I can't thank him enough. Giving me this platform here to talk about it now. I want to do what I feel is best for the industry, and I think from a portable building shed perspective, there's no one better than Shannon. I can't do it. I'm
Yeah.
not in that space. That's not my forte. I really want to try to own the metal building and post frame world, but there are other people out there doing it just as good as me. Guys like Randy Chafee and Josh Nolan and these other podcasters that are doing long form content, building ones live and post frame 360 and just doing it the right way. And quite frankly, I don't mind sharing that out loud because it's like, listen, if we start to rub each other the right way, rising tide raises all ships. I
Yeah. Well,
really believe that.
let's zoom in on that then.
I got a big day tomorrow. I have a fully finished 18 by 40 cabin that's going to require 2 to 3 meals to get it delivered. Way back in the sticks and down a dirt lane. With all the rain we've had lately, it's going to be a mess. Well, it needs a bigger mule.
Well, when you talk, Cardinal listens, and you asked for it. With its diesel-powered 69-horse engine and capacity to move 40,000-pound sheds, the Mule 9069 is ready to turn your big days into just another day in the good life.
Ah, that's right. You're talking about the one they had up in Michigan at the shed show. That monster mule, that thing was awesome.
That's right. It's the one you've seen at all the Shed Holler barbecues.
Man, yeah, there's nothing like a little diesel donkey to make my day go so much better.
All right.
Yeah.
We talk about what the right way is. And, I think that, like I said, you and I have had a lot of conversations about this.
Yes,
And,
we have.
and, I think there are different components of the right way. And I think first and foremost, to be effective, especially on the consumer side, and even, I mean, this America Builds Better is coming at this from a third party perspective, or trying to, right? I mean, I know you're
Yes.
still kind of,
Yeah.
it's still kind of taking shape or whatever else, but the point is, it's not Dayton Barnes, it's not
Correct.
Five Rivers, right? It is not
Correct.
this channel that is wholly and solely devoted to the perspective of whatever the company needs, which usually is,
That's right.
revenue,
That's
sales,
right.
right? Like, I
That's
mean,
right.
that's and I think that, so, I mean, that's probably for me is like step one, think about what the perspective, the point of view is from the channel itself, because I think there are a lot of people who are actually producing good content individually, whether that be
Yes.
from a manufacturer level, whether that be from a dealer level. Like, content is happening, but
Yes.
it is being put out there as that company's perspective on things. And frankly, at least from a
We've talked about
consumer.
that.
Yeah, and like, so I think that's number one. And then number two is the type of content. So when you say doing it the right way, and maybe like I kind of get more technical, like I'm
Yeah,
thinking of this from an execution perspective. How are you scripting? How are
for
you
sure.
shooting? How are you building that visual language? But you tell me,
Yep.
like, whenever you say there are a lot of guys out there doing it the right way, tell me what the right way is to Jared Ledford.
I think for me, it's creating real content, not real REEL. It's real REAL, right?
Although
So
it's helpful to
yeah,
put it in REEL
correct, correct,
format.
correct. Real format, right? I think for me specifically, um, it's content from the heart, content that raises up the industry as a whole. I think there's a lot of content out there that does a majority of its time kind of breaking down other people, right? I think that's number one, what we can't do in this industry, in this space. We don't have the afforded luxury of being um, the most respected industry in the world,
Yeah.
right? Steel buildings and sheds specifically have that struggle. They always have. And they need to be brought up to a higher level to where everybody's like, oh, yeah, this is the way the business works. For me, I watch others create content, and we've talked about this, and you brought this up right now. If I'm let's just say, a shed manufacturer, and I am taking care of what I am producing, do people care, meaning customers or other people that are industry specific, do they care about my specific advertising? There's a difference in content.
Right.
Okay. The advertising content should be rich and special and in your face and cut up and however you feel like you can brand your business.
Yep.
But that's not going to create a organic or a natural audience growth because it's meant to sell sheds,
Yep.
not inform people on the industry at large. And I think that's one of the big mistakes that people make in this industry. And again,
It's
there
all
are
promotional.
podcasters out there. Yeah,
It
yeah,
all
it's all
has
self.
the focus of selling, right? And
That's correct.
what you're saying, I'm not trying to overwrite you here, but uh,
No,
it's just like, if you're listening, imagine the concept of you, watching a Final Four game, watching the game tonight, and a commercial comes on. There's not a thought in your head that thinks, gosh, I'm really learning to have a relationship. I'm really starting to have a relationship with this guy drinking a Dr. Pepper in the Dr. Pepper commercial, right? That is
that's right.
promotional. That is
That's
that
right.
is that is make a buying decision, right? And what
Yes,
you're saying is you have to be able to separate. You and I have ad nauseum. We've talked about this privately, but you
it's
have to be able
crazy.
to separate your promotional activities that are trying to induce a buying decision from your relationship building activities, which are just literally building
Well,
relationships through screens.
use me as an example. Okay, let's use Jared Ledford as an example. Why did the Steel Kings run its course? For me personally, okay, the Steel Kings brand had a logo that had a Dayton Barnes logo on the crest on the chest of its host.
Right.
There was no hiding the fact that we were Dayton Barnes and all steel buildings and Five Rivers pole barns and all these things because that's the stories we were telling.
Yep.
But at some point, that becomes a self-promotional tool to either sell more buildings or get more eyes on Dayton Barnes. With America Builds Better, I want to be all about everybody else. I want to be about what they're doing right to call out their business or what they do right when they build their building or hey, what I like about certain things. And that has nothing to do like I'm not going to be doing self promotion on the podcast where it's like you need to buy a building from Dayton Barnes and you need to buy it today. Like that's not what I'm about at this point. I want the industry to be able to take a step in the right direction. And we've talked about this, post frame and pole barn people have it figured out. They have it figured out in spades.
Yep.
They've got, trade organizations that really take hold and have figured out a way not only to bring that industry to a completely different level, but make it easier for contractors, dealers, manufacturers, everybody to have a much better experience in the industry. And
Yep.
they've done it together. Many businesses had to sacrifice to get that trade organization put together. So we're working with NFBA on that. We just got back from the NFBA trade show at the end of February. We did the Steel Kings podcast on that. We're going to continue to provide content for NFBA. And I think we're going to probably share a lot of that with your audience over time
Yep.
because they've come to expect it, right? And that's why we want to continue to have these conversations, because we want to motivate people in the steel building space, people in the portable shed space. Like, this is the way things need to be.
Yep. We've
And
actually
unfortunately,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, we've been drafting, and so we've got, I don't know, probably 5 different individuals who we feel like have a good eclectic knowledge of different, building styles, different carpentry concepts, craftsmanship, obviously, like thinking through 5 people who really have that experience. And we've started to, at least float the idea of like, hey, here is a standard for, pick a system, a flooring system. Here's a standard for flooring systems um, when it comes to sheds. Like, is this helpful? I'll tell you who it would definitely be helpful for is the consumer, right? The end user. If there's an internal system in the industry, I mean, now we're getting into like what are we saying, right? Now we're getting into that side of content. What are you actually able to say to your businesses when you're being promotional? Because quality winds up falling flat when everybody's saying it. But, we are an A rated or an A plus rated shop. We're an A plus rated manufacturer. That actually starts to speak to people, right? And if it's based on real stuff, right? If it's not just some, list of kind of stuff that doesn't matter, or if it's a pay to play or whatever else, then you start to lose that. But if you really
Yeah.
step back and say, um, you know, what is an equivalent to notched runners, right? Is there an
Yeah.
equivalent to being able to tow it in or have laminated, like what kind of system that actually creates that mechanical structure that allows those runners to really truly be integrated into the floor system? Is there, is there a way of
Yeah.
towing it in that is actually equivalent? Because if not, then that should be a B rated, that should be a B rated shed, right? Or a B rated
Yeah.
shop if that's how they do it. And so, in exactly what we're talking about, we've started to draft those standards and are kind of passing them around to the actual craftsmen. You all know that me and Shannon are not, personally out there running nail guns. Although I proudly come from a construction family, Cook Brothers Construction, built a lot of Metropolis back in the day. But anyway, so like we're trying to work on that. And I really think that there's a big upside for people who would be willing to kind of take the step in that direction, because you're immediately going to have the first wave of people who kind of step into something like that are going to have a huge advantage over their competitors when it comes to consumers.
Correct. And that's
Yeah.
typically done with the largest among us, right? The largest pole barn and post frame companies came together and started the NFBA,
Right.
decades ago at this point. And they've been able to not only raise up the entire industry, but they've been able to universally get accepted things like, I mean, just the difference between a steel building and a pole barn here, right where we are, Urbana, Ohio. It is so much easier to get a permit for a pole barn than it is for a steel building. They have one sheet. It's literally you color on it with a pencil and you can get a pole barn built. It takes maybe 5 minutes of your time to get a permit.
Right.
With a steel building, you need site-specific blueprints a lot of the times, and if not, you definitely need master generics. You need a topical overview. You need all these things. You need concrete 32 inches down to the ground for a footer. You need all these things. And I can tell you, pole barns and post frame people figured it out early that if they worked with zoning departments at the state level to get clearance on these buildings and set the standard for how these things were built, because if you get a pole barn built anywhere that's going to meet codes, it's probably going to be built the same way.
Right.
It's Pepsi, it's Coke, it's Dr. Pepper. It's just which manufacturer or supply house are you getting it from? Are you getting it from a local lumber yard? I mean, it's pretty hard to argue with, okay, well, we need 2x6 nail lamb cut at this length, and we need 2x6 and 2x4s cut at this length, and we need this much sheet metal. It's really not that hard. It's all basic stuff. But for me, that's the biggest difference I see from a sales perspective. Pole barns and post frame buildings have I'm trying to think of the right word. They have a gravitas to them to where when people say pole barn is universally accepted for any outdoor structure of a certain size.
Yep. That's right.
And with steel buildings, it's like, well, I don't want a steel building. I want a pole barn. Well, in a way, a steel building is a pole barn.
Well, and
right?
that has taken on its whole, it's been helped by like the social phenomenon of unaffordable housing, so that then people create, they turn, post frame buildings into quote unquote barn dominiums. I mean, at some point you're just building a custom house with metal on the outside, but
anybody doing it the right way though knows that you have to stud frame interior walls. You're never going to get these things permitted as an actual pole barn built as a house.
Right.
That's the struggle that we have as an industry in the post frame space. I see that as a huge, huge opportunity again for the post frame and pole barn community to wrap arms and say, look, for it to be called a barn dominium, there needs to be an industry standard set.
Yeah.
This is the way we're going to do it. Stud frame walls, posts on the outside, whatever you want to do, but there needs to be a standard set, and nobody has set it yet. There has not been an industry standard, and I'll be honest, it's making it harder to build pole barns.
Yeah, right.
They may not think it is, but from a dealer perspective and from a selling perspective of post frame buildings, you start kicking around the word barn dominium, and boy, zoning departments get real sketched out.
Yeah.
They do not want barn dominiums built unless they are basically a home.
Yeah.
On a solid foundation with stud frame walls and all the above.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I mean, for me personally, it simply, I want the industry to do better.
Digital Shed Builder is an online shed configurator that strives to provide incredible visual quality, fantastic customer service, and an amazingly low price point, making it a perfect fit for any shed dealer looking to increase their online sales. Digital Shed Builder is simple to use, taking less than 5 minutes to integrate on your site. The Get a Quote feature streamlines your sales process, showing you exactly what your potential customers need. They offer a highly customizable experience that accurately represents your brand and unique shed offerings, working with you directly to set up everything you need in a configurator. With no extra startup cost, no lengthy contracts or commitments, and no hidden fees, Digital Shed Builder has been created with quality, simplicity, and affordability in mind.
There are so many good people that do this every day and call this their job. They do this for a living. They feed their families with it. And specifically in the portable building shed space and steel building space, there is certainly a lot of room to grow. A lot of room to grow. And become more collaborative. Like there needs to be, like for steel buildings, my goal would be there needs to be an industry standard for, amount of feet between an upper, right? Amount of feet between a truss. All trusses need to be fully welded. No more brackets on things that are load bearing because brackets don't carry the weight. People that argue, oh, well, the one I get all the time is like vertical steel makes the building stronger. I mean, I guess, but why don't we try X bracing?
Yeah.
X bracing is a standard now. Corner bracing standard on most post frame buildings. It's that way for a reason.
So what would be an
for
example of that? Because I guess in my mind, and you tell me. So you're saying that the NFBA has more or less raised the floor, raised the
oh
minimum
goodness,
standard
unbelievable.
to a certain level. But surely, see, I guess my thought is that standards um only go as far as what you then communicate to the actual customer. Because I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but in post frame, are there certain practices that used to happen that just don't happen at all anymore for cost, cost savings
I I
reasons? And
I think that you have things with NFBA like their educational resources, right? Those are the things that I've checked out. I think that it weeds out bad players. And I've said this before. I said it on the Steel Kings podcast. You can go to your local lumber yard. Heck, me and Cord could start a pole barn company tomorrow. We could go up here to the lumber yard here in town, and we could source building kits, and we could start getting contractors to do it. The episode you want to go back and listen to is our one with Josh Nolan on sourcing. Josh is a really good guy. He works with Burroughs Post Frame Solutions, and I can tell you that guy knows his stuff. And I can tell you, if you're not working with the right supplier, you're going to end up with sub quality building materials every time. You're
yeah,
going to end up not getting the materials there to begin with. And with the NFBA, I think what they've done. So one of the things I really like that I've gotten really eyes on, hands on, is like the rapid framing system. So Todd Meinhold developed the rapid framing system. He now licenses that to different suppliers around the United States.
hmm
So when you get plans or you get things to put this building together, it's using the rapid framing, as an option. And this, at the end of the day, is really where you start to see innovations come in, right? Things like permacolumn, things like there's so many industry standards in post frame and pole barns that you don't see available with steel buildings and sheds,
yeah,
things that don't have engineering.
yeah.
Because you have this, it's not a governing body, it's a trade organization.
But
So the trade
everybody is,
organization,
yeah, you're trying to lift up the standards of all
yes,
those who want to do good business. I mean,
yes,
that's what you're doing. That's,
you're encouraging people to learn.
yep,
You're encouraging people to take pride in what they're doing on a level of, okay, if we're going to be a NFBA member, we have to follow certain guidelines and there are certain expectations that are on us as a NFBA supplier or an
yep,
NFBA contractor, right? And when you go to these trade shows, you see it because there's so much collaboration and discussion amongst all the suppliers and different things that it just feels like a well-oiled machine.
yeah.
Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm missing it, right? I mean, I could be completely missing the ball on this.
Well, I
But I
think that,
think for me personally, I want to see the shed industry and the steel building industry rise up to this.
yeah, it depends on your
There's a level
level.
missing.
It depends on your level of like participation, and is it
Sure.
possible that you're kind of, are the people who show up at events like that always going to be the most participatory within the industry already? And, and I think there's some of that even, in sheds and portable buildings as well.
For sure. For sure.
We have to be realistic about the kind of the circle, well, the listeners, right? If you're listening to a podcast right now that is about your industry because you want to be better, you are probably, in the top half of people who are plugged in and who are trying to be better and who are trying
Probably the
to,
top quarter. Probably the
yeah,
top quarter.
yeah,
I mean,
top
based
quarter.
on numbers that we see, right? Based
Yeah.
on numbers that we see from industry wide, numbers that we had on the Steel Kings certainly is
Yeah.
a pittance of where the metal building market is, right?
Yeah.
You guys have a larger market share for sheds than we did for steel buildings. But again, I think, to kind of circle back to where we were, right? For me personally, if you enjoy hearing from me, if you enjoy my perspective on things, and that's been one thing that shocked me. I told you this, I've said it on the podcast a million times. I've never really made any money on the podcast. It's never been about that for me. You know that. I have never been a guy that's like, I got to have this money or I'm not doing it. I just love doing the podcast because it makes me feel good. I love talking about the industry and how I think it can do better because I love the industry and I love what I do every day. I get up every day and get excited about coming to work. And if I can share that with somebody and give somebody the motivation on a Monday morning or on a Friday afternoon or whenever they might hear my voice and they see something that I've created and say, oh man, that excites me. I didn't know that. Or man, I really like seeing that or hearing that. It motivated me. That's the kind of stuff, and we've asked for it, right? We ask for feedback all the time on the podcast. Like, hey, if you like what we're talking about, shoot us a message and tell us. We'll do more of that. And that's what I want to do with America Builds Better. America Builds Better. I don't have a personal TikTok. I don't have a I mean, my personal Facebook is for friends and family only. I don't accept a lot. I think I got 120 friends on there. And they're people that I could call on the phone and talk to,
Right.
right? This is going to be a peek behind the curtain at Jared Ledford, the person, and what Jared Ledford loves about this industry. Post frame, steel buildings, sheds, whatever it is. It might be metal roofing.
Right.
I might do something on, I mean, who knows? I've got a lot of friends that I want to feature, and I mean, if you want to be on the podcast, let me know. Because
Yeah.
if you're listening to me now and you got a story to tell and, you want to get your voice out there, I'd love to talk to you. We may or may not feature it on a podcast. We may or may not feature it at all. But if you got a story to tell, man, I'd love to hear it. I am not shy about hearing it. And it's not just about creating content, it's about creating
Yeah.
rich content, real content that people want to listen to, that impacts their day and makes them feel like I'm in the right industry here.
Yeah.
That's what we want. I mean, we want the industry to do better, Cord. That's
Yeah.
what we want. And not because the industry's not doing well on its own, but the industry has to continue to make these technological changes to stay relevant. Because if we want to see the portable shed space not be taken over and dominated by big box retailers, who we all know doesn't make the same quality sheds as our friends, right? We just know it. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, would you rather buy a high quality shed for pretty much the same cost? Or would you rather buy one from a big box store? And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
They're not even hardly the same product. I mean,
They're not even
like
close.
they're
They're not
like,
even close.
they're
They're more expensive, Cord.
yeah.
The big box buildings are more expensive.
And our
Everybody in our space, which would be, I would consider the consignment dealer model, right? The consignment dealer model would be where I think we're kind of target marketing portable building people. If you're a manufacturer or a dealer in that space, you should own the fact that you're selling a high quality product. It's been a long time since I've seen a really not a very good shed in our space.
they're all quality. They're all quality products, but I do
I mean,
think but this is back to what we're saying about standards, right? I agree
yes,
with you that you should own the fact that
yes,
you sell a quality product, but I'm just, the consumer. I mean, we are in it. We are, whatever, touring a manufacturing facility or a dealer lot or whatever. We're doing this every day.
yep,
Or most days of the week or half the days in the month or whatever, right? So like we see these things a
yep,
lot, but for your average consumer out there, yes, you should own that quality product, but there's going to have to be some easier way to translate that, because if you have to go through what it means to what the joist spacing on center, what your floor joist spacing actually adds up to, what that Advantech actually adds up to compared to a lower quality. Like
yep,
if you have to go through each of those things specifically, I'll just tell you that person would rather buy a lower quality shed at a higher price than like hear the 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, five
that's
hours
right.
worth of information that you're trying to tell them in person. Now, here's where Shed Life comes in. I think we can actually um, give them that information in little 45, 30, 45-second bites. And over the course of, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as spring's coming, as they're thinking about a shed, it gets into their algorithm. They watch the whole video. I think that we can actually deliver that third party, here is what quality means, and help with that
Yep,
education. But honestly, then whenever it comes back to how are we marketing sheds to the consumer themselves, some kind
The
of
marketing piece,
a standard
the
has to
marketing
be
piece is
applied.
the marketing piece is where it's going to be. So I was working with a shed manufacturer recently, and he's a small one shop guy. They service part of a big state, right? Pretty much the whole part of a big state. And he was asking me why a larger manufacturer than him continues to grow in his space when they don't really have anybody in his area. And I had to explain to him, we did a little bit of investigation. This isn't hard. You can look up how to do this. You can look at your competition and say, how many pages do they have on their website? These are all very easily findable things. Don't pay for it. It's free. Or give me a shout and I can help you. But I can tell you the difference between his website and his competition's website was something like 250,000 pages. And these large scale manufacturers are going to start doing major business in everyone's backyard. And whether they like it or not, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
And
it's just
marketing
gross.
online,
It's
yeah,
gross SEO value. I mean, like you're
yes,
talking about it in
yes,
terms of pages. You can get to that gross SEO value in a bunch of different ways, whether it be pure
yes,
pages, whether it be, Google Business Profile with local.
yep,
There's a ton of ways to get to just
yeah.
the
Geofencing,
top, the top
geofencing's
of
hot
that
right
search.
now.
Yeah, right. Like
You
there's a
have to
ton
you
of,
have to dominate. You have to dominate your local. You have to dominate your local market. If you are not posting regularly and you do not have, again, this comes back to the content piece. The same reason why Cord and I want real consumable content. This is where your real consumable content has to come in, right? You need a website that has certain landing pages or certain content to drive that algorithm in the first place through SEO. But then you need to have Google Ads as a catch that sends people back to that landing page, maybe to your 3D designer or maybe to a form, that goes into your CRM. There are so many things that you have to have for you to be considered to be a big player, right? I mean, you can do it on a small scale and be really successful, stay in your lane, do 800,000 to $1 million in gross sales and probably feed your family and do well. It's the people that want to take, I think it's the biggest step you take. When you go from that initial 800,000 to like 1.5 million and you take that jump to now from a 2 to $5 million,
yep,
you have just changed your entire world. You have absolutely changed everything about your business in one fell swoop.
yep.
And for me personally, I'm telling with we'll have to save this for another conversation because this is a whole topic in and among itself. But the proliferation of artificial intelligence in our space is going to be a big problem. And you if you haven't heard it from anybody else, you can hear it from me. I can tell you right now, if you don't understand it, you need to find somebody who does, and you need to have somebody as an advocate on your team that understands how artificial intelligence could affect our business. Because there are people out there right now, and Cord and I have talked about this. Just there's players in the space, steel buildings, sheds, pole barns, that are completely AI. Everything about their platform is AI driven, and they trump people like Shed Geek and America Builds Better. They have thousands of followers that follow them right into a pipeline for somebody to sell them a building.
Hmm.
This is where you're losing your ground as a dealer or manufacturer or supplier. You're losing it to AI generated content. I know you've
Yeah.
seen it, Corey. I mean, we've talked
Oh
about it,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
to me, that's the thing that makes me really frustrated right now from a content perspective is the people that have the most money and sometimes have the worst intentions in the world are the ones who are going to win here because they can spend money dumping it in on AI driven content.
Hey, Shed Geek listeners. I'm Joe Ignis, owner of Velocity 360. At Velocity, we know the frustration of spending thousands on ads with no visibility on what's actually converting. Most leads simply get lost or never called. Ask yourself, does your team respond to every lead within 60 seconds? If they're unresponsive, do they follow up at least 14 times? The reality is your team should be closing, not chasing. They don't have enough time to follow up like they should. All that manual follow-up is exhausting and it distracts from your hottest leads. Problem solved. Velocity 360 is a white glove, turnkey, shed specific CRM solution for your sales team. We increase your lead response rate to over 60% without any extra effort from your staff. They just need to pick up the phone and start the conversation once the lead responds. We give you total visibility. You'll see your conversion rates, average sales price, and exactly which ads generate the most revenue and more. No more flying blind. We speak shed. It's all we do. With 100% American-based support, we build the system for you. We don't just show you how it works. We build it how you want it to work. Stop leaving revenue on the table. Call us at 865-672-8175 or visit velocity360crm.com/sheds to book your call today.
Yeah.
That never has to see anything.
I think that if like slop content is what is driving your funnel, then you're going to get slop leads. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean that like other people don't want those leads to work and whatever else, right? But I think that in the end, obviously, well, I mean, Sora got shut down now. So, like some of these, video platforms are going to go through like a phase here where they're, getting shut down, having to be updated. It's getting okay, pretty good. And it's going to be used more obviously I feel like fixed graphic content at this point is as good through any of the generators as you can get anywhere else. But yeah, I mean, you're right though. At the end of the day, if you can dump money into it, if you can produce slop, if it winds up getting, I hate to just use, maybe that's a little bit of a derogatory or a whatever type of a word, but like, I don't think
it is.
It's slop, man. Like but if it's working, which it does seem to be, as far as at least gaining traction on views and such. And it's not even it's about the gross number of views, right? We can spend a week doing a really great job of creating content, for, the two of us or Shed Life and America Built Better, whatever, right? But if you can crank out 50 little slop videos a day and, are they as good or whatever? But if they just perform, fractionally better, in the gross than what one really great video does, then, it can have that similar effect. But I agree with you. I'm not sure that these are like long-term changes. I'm not as sold on, I think that well, I mean, we should all be able to remember back to what's it been now. I adopted ChatGPT the day after it came out. I was listening to the All In podcast. Like I was way ahead on just trying to keep up front on those things. And that was what, 2020? It's been like 6 years now, 5.5 years.
Yep.
And like, I then remember the fervor in 2021 and 2022 that there are people who will tell you that an AI podcast will actually, take over or will be, the content is so good. It's generic. It doesn't have experience. It doesn't have a soul. Right.
The problem you get into with it, Cord, is that when you only have to create 15 or 30 seconds, you can make content that appears to be very, very real, insightful, and very heartfelt, and genuine, insightful.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, these AI tools will utilize things that you say, or I say, or Shannon says, or other people in the industry that have a platform. They will study us and put us into their algorithms and in their generation tools, and they will pop out the perfect version of a metal building, pole barn, shed geek type of structure. Yeah. And I've seen, I can tell you, they're already out there.
Yeah.
I watch stuff all the time in my downtime when it comes to industry related stuff. And I would encourage you to keep your eye on it. If it looks a sort of way, send it to Quarter Eye. I'd love to be the one that starts to flag that stuff a little bit, because I can tell you, I know when a building's fake. I know it the second I look at it. I know the second I look at a picture if it's real or not. And I'm not going to sit here and say, Dayton Barns, Five Rivers Pole Barns defined. We don't use AI. We do. We definitely do. Everybody does. If you're not using it, you're behind the eight ball. It doesn't need to be your number one used resource. It shouldn't be driving every piece of content that you put out into the digital ecosphere.
Right.
It shouldn't be that way because eventually people start to catch on that, oh, well, that's just,
Well,
that's not really giving it your soul and your heart, right?
now this is really where I wanted to get to with you, and now we're like up against the clock here. But what I really wanted to get to with you was so this is an element of what I always refer to as the visual language of your brand, right? Like you and I talk a lot about
Yeah.
if somebody sees a video that they enjoy, and that video is, if we're talking about sheds, that video may be talking about the advantages of a metal roof versus shingles or whatever, right? Like you're just talking about a feature or whatever else. Well, you've done a good job of it and they like it. They click into the rest of, they click through into your profile, then they start scrolling through your content. And if they can't easily recognize which of these other videos does the same thing, has the same format, is talking, is now doing the specific, here's a feature, here's how it benefits you. If they can't easily find that, they just hit back twice and they're right back into the scroll because, and this is a problem. I see a lot of really good, really big companies who have, to your point, deep pockets and the ability to produce a lot of content who you still can't navigate their actual pages.
Those are my favorite, Cord. Those are those are my favorite because again, it depends on what your mechanism is meant to do, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what the mechanism behind the the ad copy or content's going to do. So let's just say it's a learn more reel on Facebook.
Right.
Customer clicks on the learn more mechanisms pulled. Where does that customer land? Is it an attraction ad? Have they been put onto a landing page with a form or a 3D design link, or is it more content?
Yeah.
For me personally, with America Builds Better, it's going to be driving more content.
Yeah.
I want you to click on a 15 or 30-second clip and see a 2-minute long video.
Yeah.
And continue down the rabbit hole of, oh, I really like the information here.
Sure.
The one I'm going to give you guys as an example that I really like a lot. And if you can model content, specifically Facebook content, America's Car Guy. This is a guy who has gone from basically no audience. He has absolutely exploded. And it's because he has a format that he does in every single episode. And if you watch it, you'll understand it. He does the same thing in every episode. Hey, this is what we're gonna do today. I was absolutely enthralled with it. I probably spent an afternoon, I'm not even joking, 3.5, 4 hours. Literally watched every one of his videos. Could not get enough of it. I thought this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He figured out the social formula for it.
Yep.
Right. And if you're going to create content, whether it be for your business or maybe, hey, start a podcast. Shannon has said it once. He said it 1,000 times. If you got something to talk about and you think you can, try it, figure it out. What you're going to figure out is you don't have enough to talk about to curate weeks and months and years long of content.
Right.
And that's what I think my issue is, right? Like I don't have enough content in my wheelhouse to produce weekly episodic, podcast content in reality. I want to create all sorts of content that is industry specific that makes sure that everybody gets a taste of what I have to offer to the industry in one way, shape, or another. And I think that's what you guys are going to as well. Now you continue to do the podcast, but Shed Life sounds like an awesome thing. And I would encourage anybody that's sitting on a shed lot to reach out to you guys because I think that it's an awesome opportunity to get your product featured. And again, this is about rising tide raises all ships. Just like you guys want to work with the best in the shed world, I want to hear from the best in the metal building world. I want to hear from the best in the post frame world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's where we're at. I think that's a good wrap up point for this one. But I think at the same time, we have more to talk about.
We're up against the clock. But yes, we're doing good about being producers here.
Yeah.
When we have to get off is always a good time to wrap.
That's right.
No, but no, you're right. And yeah, I would encourage encourage dealers, manufacturers out there, reach out to us. Like you said, again, this is going to be like a third party thing, right? We're going to explore what different build techniques, different features, different. We're even going to talk about some of the other parts, right, from the consumer experience, RTO, finance. Um, what does it mean to have an Amish built shed? Because that's something that gets thrown around in the industry a lot. And where did the industry originate? And talk about Lancaster and talk about the consignment model and why there are dealers that all seem to have similar buildings, but are all labeled, all the dealers have different names and, which is different in the United States. We're used to, if you see the same building in 3 different places, it's coming from, it's the place you're buying it from is labeled the same, McDonald's or Wendy's or Dairy Queen or whatever. And so, kind of explain these industry dynamics to the consumer so they get it, right? And so anyway, reach out to us on that. And then also anyone, like I said, I've kind of got 5 gentlemen who are kind of already, in our circle to start reviewing some of these potential standards. Like we don't have a set plan, but we've been thinking in this direction as well. And so, if you're somebody out there who is really devoted and dedicated to what it means to produce quality buildings and what it means to be a craftsman, and different techniques when it comes to the actual carpentry and how you put these things together, and reach out to us because we want this to be a collaborative effort. We want all of the techniques that represent all of the different cultures and styles within the shed industry to be equally and adequately represented. We don't want just the Northeast, the fancy sheds with the architectural, like features and everything to be the only thing that kind of qualifies as an A shed, right? Like you can build great sheds, out in the Mountain West that may not have all the frills and everything, but they're A quality shed.
These Northeast dealers, these Mid-Atlantic dealers, they better start taking a page out of the Mountain West, brother. The Mountain West is coming in hot.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be the funnest conversation we could have is like, let's do a territory breakdown alongside of like the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's do conferences of manufacturers. Like, we could have a blast with that. Because I can tell you, the Mountain West is coming in hot.
You're right.
We're working with some folks out there, and I can tell you, they are serious. The sheds are awesome, and they are not putting anything off the table. I have seen some ridiculously cool looking sheds coming out of like the Northwest specifically.
Yeah.
The Washington State, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, that market is hot. If you're listening to us and you're in one of those areas, reach out to us.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I can tell you, we want to learn more about your business. I can tell you right now, because I can tell you it is the coolest buildings I've seen, Cord.
Yeah.
The coolest buildings I've seen this last year come from the Northwest.
Yeah, I think
by far.
There's a lot of innovation.
By far.
Well,
there is some crazy stuff.
Well, and you have the weather obviously always pushes design further. So you've got the unique weather up there and the cold.
Oh man.
But then you've also got the influx. I mean, it's almost a social upheaval where, everyone kind of wants to move out there again and separate themselves from, the bigger cities of the Northeast or even the West Coast.
That's right.
And so, if you get innovation and some money all put together, it usually turns into pretty cool stuff. You
can do some stuff with innovation and money, brother.
That's right.
You can do some stuff with that.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Man, I'll tell you, we got to get back at it again, Cord.
Yep.
We always butt up against the wall. But I'll come back whenever you want me to, man.
Let's do it. All right.
I'll come back whenever you want me to.
Thank you, Jared, for joining me today. And for the listeners, thank you for listening. And please join us next time on another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast.
Thanks again, Shed Pro, for being the Shed Geeks studio sponsor. If you need any more information about Shed Pro or about Shed Geek, just reach out. You can reach us by email at info@shedgeek.com or just go to our website, www.shedgeek.com, and submit a form with your information, and we'll be in contact right away. Thank you again for listening, as always, to today's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Thank you and have a blessed day.